Hey there, Taylor Ellwood here, and welcome to the Indie Author Business Success Channel. If you're somebody who's just wandering around and happens to be seeing this channel, click the subscribe button below and click the notification bell so you know when I go live. If you're a frequent flyer here, go ahead and like this video and share some comments because that always helps. So today I want to talk about why self-publishing is a long-term gain and share a little bit about my own journey. So self-publishing, you're an indie author, which is amazing and awesome. Go you, that's a good thing. But when you're an indie author, you have to recognize a certain fundamental truth. Being an indie author takes a lot of work. And I say this as somebody who's been an author both traditionally and as an indie author. Here's a bit of my own journey. I started writing articles in 2000. And I started publishing my own books in 2000, or I started publishing books in 2000, 2003. And from 2003 on to 2018, I was working with a small publisher, and I actually was the editor. I didn't get paid much for it. I basically got paid royalties. The person really got the better end of that deal, I'll tell you. But it taught me a lot about traditional publishing and why traditional publishing really doesn't work for authors. And it's why I'm an advocate for self-publishing. If you want to be able to make a living at writing, if you just want to publish books and see your books on bookshelves, then go for the traditional publishing. I won't say that you won't even make some money. You will, but it's just like a lot of things you're gonna have to do that, and all the books you're going to have to put out and the amount of money you're going to make, it's going to be a lot of work. But so is self-publishing. Self-publishing is a long-term gain. The only difference is you make a bit more money that way than you would otherwise. In 2018, I was reading about these different, I was reading about how to basically make money as an indie author. And I was thinking to myself, maybe I should try this. And so I took two books that I would have published with my publisher, and instead I published them myself. And I did it through Amazon and some other sites. And I was amazed when I saw that in 2 months of book sales, I made as much money, if not a bit more, than I made in 6 months of royalties. And it really got me thinking, here I have all these other books, a lot of books. Why am I not publishing these on my own? And so in the end, I took back my rights and I self-published those books. And now I easily make in a month what I would have been making in half a year as far as my royalties go. So that says volumes to me. And I'm much happier doing that than I would have been if I'd continued staying in that kind of situation. But here's the thing. I think anyone who goes into self-publishing should know the reality that self-publishing is a long-term game. From 2018 to 2020, I ended up writing a bunch of books. And I got to the point where I was able to actually quit my day job. And that was good. But then I made a series of mistakes and choices and things like that in my life. And I ended up getting divorced. And then I had to basically find work again. I'm working a day job again, which is fine. But I'm still making some decent money, but it's just not enough on its own to sustain what I'm trying to do. And I realized this, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to make some tough decisions here. And the tough decision that I had to make was that I had to recognize that I had to go to work at a job I didn't necessarily want to do in order to make money. But it was one of the smartest decisions I made. And it's good because it's providing me the stability I need. And I think anyone who wants to be a self-published author, you have to realize, if you want to make money from your books, unless you're really fortunate and you're either married or involved with somebody who's willing to quote unquote foot most of the bill and is okay with you writing and knows that you might not make a lot of money right away, but they're totally willing to support you, chances are you're going to be working at a job while you're doing this. And you're going to have to cram your writing in when and where you can. And it's going to take a lot of work. You're going to have to learn a lot of skills. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are 6-figure, maybe even 7-figure indie authors out there. But it seems to me like it takes a lot of work and time and effort and getting lucky. You kind of have to get lucky and find your audience. And like that takes work. Like I'm only now really beginning to find my fiction audience. I have my non-fic audience, at least as far as my spiritual books go. But like for my indie author stuff, I don't even have that yet. That's going to take some time. These are long-term things, and you have to recognize that and realize that anything you do, any genre you write for, any of that, it's a long-term investment. It takes a lot of time. A lot of people think that, being an indie author, that you're gonna, they might buy into the belief that you're just gonna write all the time. You're not gonna have to market yourself, and that's not true. You have to market yourself. You have to learn the marketing skills, and those aren't always easy to learn. I say that as someone who's had to work at it. But you have to learn how to market yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to sell, your books as well. And that's important. Like you have to know how to do that. And then like on top of that, you have to be willing to really put yourself out there. It's not just about writing books. Like you have to let people get to know you. Like what I'm doing right here. I'm doing this video and I'm sharing some things with you guys, but also just even you got to continually show up. And that's a good thing to know, but it's also a challenging thing for a lot of people to know. And a lot of people are like, well, I want to just like do this whole occult author thing, for example, or this fiction author thing or whatever, but they don't realize that it takes a lot of money and time and effort to do some of these things. Like it's not just like that. You have to put a lot of time and effort in to make the money that will eventually get you to the point where you don't have to work for someone else. So I'm telling you this, I'm not telling this to you to discourage you. I'm telling you this to be realistic with you. Like if you want to be a full-time self-published author, you've got to be willing to put the work in. And some of you are going to be like, yeah, I already know that, Taylor. But some of you might not know that, and that's why I'm making this video, because for those of you who don't know, I'd rather that you figured that out really quick and realize that, this is a long-term process. You're going to write books, and you're going to write books, and you're going to write books, and you're still going to be working at that job unless you get really super lucky. Or you're really good at marketing and you figure out like what you need to do. Like I'm a mediocre marketer at best. Maybe a bit better than that. I've maybe gotten my skills up to where I'm like kind of good at it. And some people would say, "Well, you seem to be really good at it, Taylor." And I'd be like, I've had to work my ass off to get to that point. It has been hard. I've had to learn how to do that. Marketing does not come naturally to me. I like it. It's interesting. It's not what I want to do the rest of my life, but guess what? I am going to be doing it the rest of my life, at least as far as my own writing goes. And my point is that it takes a lot of work, and that you need to be aware of these things as you're developing them. So this is an important thing to keep in mind. And I want you guys to know that, so that as you're going out there and you're starting to like really pursue your own indie author dreams, that like don't get crushed if at first you don't make a ton of money, or you discover that it's going to take a lot more work than you thought. Like learn whatever you can. Learn from other people, learn from me, learn from other people, and learn from like the really successful authors that are out there. That's what I'm doing. Like I'm actively following the indie authors and that are really successful, and then pursue it, because if this is what you want, it's worth it. It's just going to take some work. And speaking as someone who got my freedom and then lost it, partially because I was just too reliant upon someone else's income, I can tell you that like if you really want to do this and do it right, make it so you never have to rely upon someone else. Like even if you are with someone, make it so that like at the end of the day, you're paying your own share of the bills, and you don't have to like rely upon that person. It will be one of the best things you do. It will make your relationship stronger, because that person will see, or people will see, that you care enough to do what you have to do to make it sustainable in and of itself. But most of all, like really just remember, this is a long-term game. All right, that's it. I just wanted to share this with you. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the funny papers.